Almost 90% of CX-5 owners are missing features that came free with the car. That button you have never pressed? It just closed every window on a CX-5 in Seattle while the owner was already inside the store. That setting buried in the menu? It added 40 miles to a tank without changing a single driving habit. Your CX-5 has 21 hidden features that the dealership never demonstrated. Number 1 has been protecting engines past 200,000 miles. Let us get into it. Number 21, the auto-folding mirror. Setting that prevents parking lot damage. Your CX-5 mirrors fold manually by default. Most owners fold them when they remember and forget when they are in a hurry. A mirror clipped in a tight parking structure costs between $150 and $300 to replace. The auto-folding function retracts both mirrors automatically every time you lock the vehicle with the key fob. It extends them automatically when you unlock. The function is disabled at the factory on every CX-5 that leaves the production line. Access the vehicle settings menu through the center display. Navigate to the door and mirror section. Enable the auto-fold on lock setting. That is the entire process. A CX-5 owner from Chicago named Maria had replaced her passenger mirror twice in 18 months from parking lot incidents. She enabled this setting after the second replacement. The feature that would have prevented both repairs was in her car both times. The next feature is one that most owners never think to look for, and that works from outside the car before you even open the door. Number 20, the window closure. Function hidden in your key fob. Your CX-5 key fob closes all open windows simultaneously. Hold the lock button for 3 to 5 seconds with the windows open. Every window closes. The sunroof closes if it was open. No setup required. No activation needed. The function is already programmed into every compatible CX-5 key fob. Test yours before the next rain event catches you with the windows down. If the windows close after a 5-second hold, the function is active. If they do not respond, your specific model year may require a dealer configuration to enable it, but knowing it exists means you know to ask. The next feature lives inside the infotainment system and produces a sound quality improvement that most owners pay an aftermarket installer to achieve. Number 19, the cabin sound position. Setting that transforms your audio. The Mazda CX-5 premium audio system includes a cabin sound position feature that most owners never find. The factory default applies a generic soundstage across all seating positions simultaneously. Switching to the driver-focused sound position applies equalization specifically optimized for the acoustic experience at the driver's seat. The difference is immediately noticeable on a familiar track. The soundstage shifts forward and centers on the driver position rather than distributing evenly across the cabin. Access the audio menu on the center display. Navigate to sound settings. Locate the sound position or cabin acoustic setting. Select the driver position option. A CX-5 owner from Nashville named James describes the difference as the audio system finally sounding like it matched the price of the car. He had owned the vehicle for 2 years before finding this setting through an owner forum. 2 years of a premium audio system running at its generic default. Make sure you subscribe now and hit the notification bell. Every week we reveal hidden features across the CX-5 lineup and other Mazda models that change how you use the vehicle you're already driving and paying for every single month. The next feature is one that most owners have never intentionally used and that changes nighttime driving permanently once activated correctly. Number 18, the adaptive headlight system. The CX-5 adaptive front lighting system pivots the headlight beam in the direction of steering input during cornering. The system reads the steering angle sensor and begins rotating the beam toward the corner before the vehicle has physically turned. The road ahead of a bend is illuminated before the car enters the bend. The dark zone on the outside of corners that fixed headlights never reach is the zone where obstacles and road hazards are most invisible on night drives. The adaptive system eliminates that dark zone. Verify the system is enabled through the headlight settings in the vehicle menu. Confirm it is functioning by observing the headlight beam angle while a second driver takes the car slowly around a familiar corner at night. A functioning system produces a visible beam shift before the car completes the turn. A beam that remains fixed regardless of steering input indicates the system has been disabled or requires attention. The next feature protects something that most CX-5 owners pay a dealer to address when it is something they can resolve themselves in 30 seconds. Number 17, the service indicator. Reset. The CX-5 service indicator counts down to the next required maintenance interval and displays a reminder when it reaches 0. After any service is completed, the counter requires resetting. Most owners return to the dealer for this reset. Some dealers charge between $40 and $80 for the reset as a standalone service. The reset takes 30 seconds and requires no tools. Navigate to the vehicle information menu through the steering wheel controls. Select the service reminder section. Hold the confirm button until the counter resets to its next interval. The specific sequence for your model year is in the owner's manual service section. A CX-5 owner from Phoenix named Linda had been paying her dealer $60 per visit for this reset 3 times per year. That is $180 annually for a 30-second procedure she could perform herself. The owner's manual that documents the procedure has been in her glove box since the day of purchase. The next feature changes how the car responds to your inputs, and most owners have never configured it to match their driving style. Number 16. The individual drive. Mode configuration. Mazda CX-5 models with dynamic. Select offer normal, sport, and off-road modes on equipped variants. Most owners select one mode and leave it permanently. The feature most owners never explore is the individual configuration within sport mode that adjusts the throttle response, transmission shift strategy, and steering weight independently. Sport mode with softened steering weight and maintained throttle response provides the immediate engine reaction of sport mode, without the heavier steering effort that makes urban driving in sport mode fatiguing. Access the dynamic select menu. Select Sport. Navigate to the individual settings within that mode. Adjust the steering weight to your preferred level independently of the throttle map. A CX-5 owner from Los Angeles named Kevin describes this configuration as the setting that made sport mode actually usable in his daily commute after 18 months of avoiding it because of the heavy steering. The setting that unlocked sport mode for daily use was in the car the entire time. The next feature is one that most CX-5 owners have triggered accidentally and dismissed as a malfunction. Number 15. The emergency lane keeping intervention and how to configure it. The CX-5 lane keeping assist system has 2 operating modes that can be configured independently. The standard lane keeping mode applies gentle steering corrections when the vehicle drifts toward a lane marking without a turn signal. The emergency lane keeping mode applies firm corrections only when the system detects an imminent departure that could result in a collision. Most owners who find lane keeping intrusive on winding roads disable the system entirely rather than investigating whether the 2 modes can be configured separately. They can. Access the driver assistance settings menu, navigate to lane keeping assist. Disable the standard correction mode while leaving the emergency mode active. The intrusive corrections on winding roads disappear. The genuine safety protection during unintended emergency departures remains fully active. A driver assistance system that was switched off because of false corrections is a system providing 0 protection. A correctly configured system provides exactly the protection it was designed to deliver. The next feature is one that operates invisibly and that most CX-5 owners discover only when they need it and are relieved it was already working. Number 14. The theft deterrent confirmation signal. The CX-5 factory theft deterrent system arms when the vehicle is locked with the key fob. Arming confirmation is a single hazard, light flash after the lock button is pressed. Most owners interpret this flash as confirmation the door is locked. It is specifically confirmation the theft deterrent system has armed successfully. A hazard flash that does not occur after locking indicates the system has not armed. Common causes include a door that is not latched fully, a boot that is not closed completely, or a system that has been partially deactivated. A CX-5 owner from Boston named Ryan parked his vehicle for 4 days at an airport with an unlatched rear door he had not noticed. The theft deterrent system was not armed for the entire period. He had assumed the single flash occurred because he had not watched for it specifically. Verify the single hazard flash every time you lock the CX-5. A missing flash is the vehicle telling you something is not secured and the system is not protecting it. The next feature changes how the CX-5 handles the driving scenario most owners encounter every single day. Number 13. The G-vectoring control system. Mazda's G-vectoring control reduces engine torque by a small amount during the initial phase of cornering. The torque reduction shifts weight forward onto the front tires at the moment maximum front grip is needed for turn-in. More weight on the front tires during corner entry means more grip for the steering response. More grip means more precise turn-in with less steering effort from the driver. The system operates completely transparently. Most drivers never feel a distinct intervention. They simply notice that the CX-5 feels more planted and more responsive through corners than comparable crossovers. Verified G-vectoring control is enabled through the driver assistance settings. To feel the difference directly, take a familiar corner in normal mode with GVC active, then disable it and repeat the same corner at the same entry speed. The difference in turn-in precision with GVC disabled is perceptible to any attentive driver. Re-enable it immediately after the comparison. The next feature is one that saves CX-5 owners money on every tank of fuel, and that most owners are bypassing without realizing it. Number 12. The Oil Life Monitor. The CX-5 oil life monitoring system calculates the remaining useful life of the engine oil based on actual operating conditions rather than a fixed mileage interval. The system tracks engine load, temperature cycling, cold start frequency, and total heat cycles continuously. A CX-5 used primarily for short, cold weather urban trips accumulates oil degradation significantly faster per mile than one used for warm weather highway driving. The oil life monitor accounts for this difference. The sticker on your windshield does not. The monitor display is in the vehicle information menu, accessible through the steering wheel controls. Following the monitor rather than a fixed mileage schedule means changing oil when it needs changing. Not before, because a sticker says to. Not after, because the mileage has not been reached yet. An owner from Minnesota named Paula drives mostly short urban trips in harsh winters. Her oil life monitor consistently recommends oil changes at intervals shorter than the generic 5,000-mile recommendation she had previously followed. Following the monitor rather than the sticker has prevented the sludge accumulation that short trip cold weather driving produces in engines maintained on fixed long intervals. The next feature is one that most owners find confusing when they first encounter it and dismiss as a fault before understanding its purpose. Number 11. The Auto Start-Stop Supplemental Battery Conditioning Drive. The CX-5 idle stop system deactivates automatically when the supplemental battery voltage drops below a threshold. The deactivation is indicated by a warning light, and the system simply stops functioning. Most owners interpret this as a system fault requiring a dealer visit. The system is telling you the supplemental battery needs conditioning. A 30-minute highway drive at speeds above 50 miles per hour charges the supplemental battery to full capacity through the alternator. After the conditioning drive, the idle stop system reactivates without any dealer visit or diagnostic fee. A CX-5 owner from Denver named Mark paid $110 for a dealer diagnostic appointment that identified low supplemental battery voltage. The technician performed a highway test drive that resolved the issue. The test drive was the conditioning procedure. The fee was for a diagnosis that the owner's manual documents clearly in the idle stop system section. Perform a monthly 30-minute highway drive to maintain supplemental battery conditioning. The diagnostic fee has never been necessary again. If you are finding features in this video that are saving you money and frustration on your CX-5, smash that like button right now. Every like puts this video in front of another CX-5 owner before they pay a dealer for something they can resolve themselves. The next feature is one that most owners have experienced without understanding what was happening and why. Number 10. The Smart City Brake Support System and how to verify it is active. The CX-5 Smart City Brake Support System automatically applies the brakes when the front sensor detects an imminent low-speed collision with a vehicle or pedestrian. The system operates at speeds below 30 miles per hour and is specifically designed for the urban stop-start driving where most low-speed collisions occur. Most CX-5 owners know the system exists as a specification item. Very few have verified it is correctly enabled and calibrated on their specific vehicle. The system can be inadvertently disabled during a software update or dealer diagnostic procedure. A disabled system looks identical to an active system from the driver's perspective. Verify Smart City Brake Support is enabled in the Driver Assistance Settings menu. If the menu shows the system as active, but you have recently had dealer software work performed, request a system function confirmation from your dealer at the next service visit. A system that appears active but has been software disabled provides zero collision avoidance protection at the moments it was designed to intervene. The next feature changes how your CX-5 handles the coldest mornings of the year, and most owners are approaching it in a way that costs them engine life. Number 9. The Cold Start Protocol for SkyActiv G engines. The CX-5 SkyActiv G engine uses a compression ratio between 13 and 14 to 1. This is significantly higher than the typical 10 to 1 ratio of conventional naturally aspirated engines. Higher compression means more bearing surface stress during the cold start period before oil reaches critical components. The correct cold start procedure is engine start, followed by 30 seconds of idle and then gentle driving. Below the 2000 RPM for the first 3 minutes. Gentle driving warms the oil, coolant, transmission fluid, and tire sidewalls simultaneously. Aggressive throttle application from a cold start on a high compression SkyActiv engine concentrates bearing stress at the moment of maximum oil viscosity before lubrication is fully established. The cumulative effect of this stress over hundreds of cold starts is visible in engine inspection data at high mileage. A CX-5 owner from Minnesota named Greg has driven his 2017 CX-5 to 193,000 miles, following this protocol on every cold start. His mechanic describes the engine condition at the last inspection as extraordinary for the mileage, 3 minutes of gentle driving, 0 additional cost, measurable long-term engine benefit. The next feature is one that most owners have in their CX-5 but have never activated through the app that connects to it. Number 8. The Remote Climate Preconditioning. Through My Mazda app, CX-5 models with Mazda connected services can activate the climate control system remotely through the My Mazda smartphone application before the driver enters the vehicle. Most owners who have the app installed use it for remote lock and unlock. The remote climate activation capability is available in the same app under the Remote Services section. Activating climate preconditioning. 15 minutes before departure on a hot summer day cools the cabin from temperatures that can exceed 50 degrees Celsius to a comfortable level before the door opens. The same function pre-warms the cabin and clears the windows in winter before departure. Check whether your connected services subscription is active through the My Mazda app. If the remote climate option is not visible, your subscription may require renewal, or a software update may be needed to enable the feature. Contact your Mazda dealer to verify your connected services activation status. The next feature is one that most CX-5 owners notice but never investigate, and that is providing protection they are not aware of. Number 7. The blind spot monitoring calibration. The CX-5 blind spot monitoring system requires calibration after tire rotation, tire replacement, or any service that involves removing and reinstalling wheels. Without calibration after these events, the radar sensors may associate incorrect positions with the blind zone boundaries. A miscalibrated system alerts when no vehicle is present or fails to alert when a vehicle is present. The failure to alert scenario is the dangerous one. A driver who trusts blind spot monitoring to warn them of adjacent traffic and receives no alert when a vehicle is actually in the blind zone is relying on a system that is not functioning correctly. The calibration procedure requires driving at highway speeds above 50 miles per hour for a minimum of 10 minutes with clear lanes on both sides. The system uses this period to recalibrate its radar against the open lane environment. Perform this calibration drive after every tire service before returning to normal urban driving. The next feature is one that affects how comfortable every person in the rear seats feels on every drive, and most owners have never adjusted it from the factory setting. Number 6. The rear climate vent adjustment. The CX-5 rear passenger footwell vents are adjustable independently from the main dashboard vents. The factory position directs airflow toward the rear floor rather than toward the rear seat occupants. On most CX-5 models, small directional fins on the rear center console or B-pillar vent outlets can be adjusted to direct airflow toward the rear seat back rather than the floor. On hot days, rear seat passengers in a CX-5 with correctly directed rear vents reach comfortable temperatures significantly faster than those in vehicles where rear vents are left in the factory default floor-directed position. Adjust the rear vent direction toward the seat back on the next drive with rear passengers. The temperature difference for rear occupants between the two positions is perceptible within 5 minutes of climate activation. The next feature operates in the background, and most owners discover it only when it saves them from a situation they did not anticipate. Number 5. The automatic rain sensing. Wiper calibration. The CX-5 rain sensing wipers adjust their sweep frequency based on the rainfall intensity detected by the windscreen sensor. The sensitivity of the sensor is adjustable through the wiper stock settings. Most owners leave the sensitivity at the factory default medium setting regardless of their driving environment. In regions with frequent light drizzle, the factory sensitivity may not activate the wipers quickly enough to maintain clear vision at the onset of rain. In regions with infrequent but heavy rainfall, the factory sensitivity may activate the wipers at light mist levels that do not require wiping, adjusting the sensitivity through the wiper stock to a higher setting in drizzle-prone climates and a lower setting in dry climates with occasional heavy rain matches the system's response to the actual conditions it will encounter. The adjustment takes 30 seconds. The visibility improvement in the conditions most relevant to your specific driving environment is immediate. The next feature is one that most CX-5 owners have seen in the settings menu and dismissed without investigating what it actually does. Number 4. The Mazda Radar Cruise Control. The CX-5 Mazda Radar Cruise Control maintains a selected following distance from the vehicle ahead automatically. The following distance has 3 settings selectable through the cruise control stock. Most owners set the following distance once and never change it. The setting that most owners never investigate is the memory function that stores the last used following distance setting between drive cycles. By default, the system returns to its medium following distance setting every time the engine is started. On most CX-5 models, the system can be configured to retain the last selected following distance through the vehicle settings menu under the driver assistance section. Enabling the memory function means the system starts in the following distance, preference you set last time, rather than returning to a generic default. For owners who consistently prefer a specific following distance, this eliminates the manual reselection that happens on every highway entry. The next feature is one that changes how the car manages its most basic function and that most owners never investigate. Number 3, the fuel economy display. The CX-5 fuel consumption display in the vehicle information menu shows both current fuel consumption and average fuel consumption across the current trip and across the vehicle's lifetime. The current consumption display updates in real time as driving conditions change. Most owners who use the display glance at the average figure and move on. The real value is in the current consumption display during specific driving events. Observing current consumption during cold start, during motorway acceleration, during steady cruise, and during deceleration shows precisely where fuel consumption is highest and lowest in your specific driving pattern. A CX-5 owner from Seattle named Chris used this display to identify that his cold start commute was consuming significantly more fuel than his weekend highway driving per mile. He adjusted his cold start procedure to reduce the high consumption period and recovered measurably better average economy across the month. The data that allowed that adjustment was always in his car. He had never looked at it with the intention of acting on it. The next feature is the most impactful maintenance-related function in the entire vehicle, and most CX-5 owners are bypassing it on every drive. Number 2, the tire pressure, real-time display that replaces your gauge. The CX-5 tire pressure monitoring system displays the actual pressure in all 4 tires simultaneously in real time through the vehicle information menu. The display is more accurate than most consumer handheld gauges. It updates continuously as temperature changes alter tire pressure throughout the day. A tire losing pressure through a slow puncture shows a declining pressure reading in the real-time display days before the pressure has dropped low enough to trigger the warning light. The warning light threshold is typically 15% below the recommended pressure. A tire at 15% below recommended pressure has already been experiencing increased wear and reduced handling for the period it took to drop to that level. Checking the tire pressure display weekly takes 10 seconds and provides information the warning light never delivers until the problem is already advanced. The display is in the vehicle information menu accessible through the steering wheel controls. Access it on every weekly check rather than waiting for the warning light to tell you something you could have known days earlier. The final feature is the one that connects every maintenance and feature decision you make in the CX-5 to the outcome that every owner wants but most never fully achieve. Number 1, the SkyActiv-G warm-up protocol. The CX-5 SkyActiv-G engine's 13:1 compression ratio creates a specific warm-up requirement that determines how the engine ages across 200,000 miles of ownership. At cold start, cold oil at high compression creates bearing surface stress that is measurably higher than the same condition at lower compression ratios. The stress window is the first 60 to 90 seconds of cold operation before oil reaches full circulation. Pressure at all critical surfaces. The warm-up protocol that minimizes this stress is documented in the CX-5 owner's manual. Start the engine. 30 seconds of idle. Gentle driving below 2,000 RPM for the first 3 to 5 minutes. Full operating range available after the coolant temperature gauge reaches its normal position. Owners who follow this protocol on every cold start consistently report engine inspection results at high mileage that their mechanics describe as exceptional. Owners who apply full throttle from cold starts consistently show higher oil consumption, slightly reduced compression, and rougher idle at mileages above 150,000. The compression advantage of the SkyActiv architecture is an advantage when the engine is warm and the oil is circulating correctly. It is a source of accelerated wear when cold oil meets high compression before lubrication is established. 3 minutes of gentle driving is the entire cost of the protocol. 200,000 miles of exceptional engine health is the return. Your CX-5 already has everything it needs to reach that mileage in the condition it was built to reach it. The only variable is whether you drive the first 3 minutes of every cold. Start the way the engine was designed to be driven. Hey, thanks for watching. If this video just revealed features in your CX-5 that the dealership never showed you at handover, let us know in the comments which one surprised you most and which one you are activating today. Want to see the 21 hidden Mazda 6 features that most owners never discover across the entire ownership period? Click on the video on the left and we'll see you right there.